Today, more than ever in the past, we see attempts to discredit Christianity. While this has certainly happened in the past, current efforts are at an all-time high. The name put upon this effort is called Christian deconstruction. One of the tactics that Christian deconstruction puts forth is saying that any spiritual path is valid in an attempt to thwart the exclusivity of Christianity. Therefore, we have the question, is Christianity the only way? Many seem to think other religions are better. There are those who feel other religions are a better fit with their lifestyle. You may say to yourself, I have friends who are Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims. Are they wrong? To begin this conversation, we need to first define religion. Merriam-Webster defines religion as an organized system of religious attitudes, beliefs, and/or practices. Also, a commitment or devotion to a god or gods. It's noteworthy to include here that atheism and agnosticism are religious attitudes, since atheists have no evidence of there not being a God, or in the case of agnosticism, a rejection of God for claiming there is no provable evidence for God. They too become a religion, since they are choosing to believe or have faith in these paths. A quick Google search will yield that there are an estimated 4,000 to 10,000 religions worldwide. Lately, we've observed a rise in the belief of religious plurality, meaning that there are multiple paths to God, heaven, or the afterlife. A common analogy used to describe this is a mountain with many paths leading to the summit and concluding that they all reach the top, though each has its own unique aspects in doing so. To determine the validity of that claim, we must look at the primary elements of each to determine if their goals are compatible. While all forms of these religions possess some form of spiritual beings, they differ widely in godly nature and their influences upon mankind. Throughout the Asian religions of promoting multiple gods, known as polytheism, they vastly differ from Christianity, Judaism, and Islam that believes in only one true supreme God. Hinduism denies the existence of the biblical God. They see Brahma as the supreme expression of the divine impersonal force that is in all creation. There are many expressions of lesser-known gods known as avatars. Unlike the Christian Trinity, Hindus believe in the Trimurti, representing three individual gods: Brahma, the creator; Vishnu, the preserver; and Shiva, the destroyer. Sin is viewed as a simple bad deeds that are performed by mankind who is himself divine, and the law of karma dictates the ultimate demise of an individual. Through reincarnation, each individual is allowed to pursue a state of perfectness that will provide for a release from the life and death cycle known as samsara, allowing for progression to a godlike status. Therefore, the ultimate goal is a final death as a human being and an ascension to being a god. As Buddhism and many other various Asian religions are derived from this root religion, they too share similarities to the prospect of a man-centered existence, with only an acknowledgement of a relatively disconnected god or gods. Another variation from Hinduism is that Buddhism is primarily atheistic, though some proponents view Buddha as godlike. However, the compatibility of sin, salvation, and the life-death cycle remains the same. Islam, on the other hand, is quite different from either Hinduism or Buddhism. Also, it is our youngest major religion, coming into being with Muhammad in the early 7th century. Muhammad claimed that he was visited by the angel Gabriel and was appointed as the ultimate prophet between man and Allah. According to Islam, to please God, it is imperative to fulfill the 5 pillars of Islam. They are a declaration of faith that states, "There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger." A ritual prayer performed 5 times a day facing toward Mecca. Charity that involves giving a portion of one's wealth to the poor and needy. Fasting from dawn until dusk during the holy month of Ramadan. And lastly, a pilgrimage to Mecca, which is required of all Muslims who are able to make the journey. While Sunni Muslims adhere to the 5 pillars, Shia Muslims add to these and adhere to the 10 obligatory acts. Now, no Muslim, even the best among them, imagines that he is guaranteed paradise. The Muslim knows that God alone controls life and death, and that death may come to him at any time. So he tries to send on ahead for his future existence deeds that will merit the pleasure of his Lord. Therefore, Muslims must earn their way to paradise. Judaism and Islam are noticeably different in regard to salvation from sin. Judaism does not revolve around a set of doctrines or a plan of salvation. Instead, it is a prescription for living. The crucial question in Judaism is, what do you practice? What are you doing with your life? And what do you believe? Much like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam, Judaism revolves around works or achievements of the law. Though the actual tasks or achievements are different from each of these religions, they all share the necessity of man to reach their spiritual goals. This contrasts sharply with Christianity, which says human beings require salvation, and God has provided a unique way of being saved through the incarnation, life, sacrificial death, and resurrection of his divine Son. Christianity believes mankind has inherited sin that may only be absolved by the sacrifice made by the Son of the Father through his death, resurrection, and forgiveness. This salvation is provided only through the grace of God. Mankind has no power or authority to affect a salvation outcome. When we evaluate the basic facts of each religion, they vary so greatly in the nature of God, his interaction with mankind, whether sin and salvation are even necessary, what is involved in an afterlife, and what remedies might be utilized for any form of afterlife, and all paths lead to God position cannot be reached. We've arrived at the conclusion that belief in only one religion is reasonable. But which one? Please join me in part 2 of this Religious Pluralism series to evaluate which spiritual path has the greatest plausibility.